Hello and welcome to our next nuanced neuroscience conversation about vampires. As promised, the vampire Armand. We will insert the sneaky little show about the Gremlin from episode 4 that Lestat gives him.
Readers in the audience tonight. Have you come across this 2023 bodice ripper? Dubbed an irritating hoax, bound for flash in the pan status by Vanity Fair, and a thong-busting, steamy beach read for the cocklet-sucking Fire Island set by Out magazine? Well, we are the tribute band spawned by that literary mountaintop. Unless, of course, Louis de Pointe-de-Lac was interviewed by a two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning mortal in Dubai, and I am actually the toxic bitch, anxiously attached show pony with the personality disorder, godless dog. Any vampire truthers out there? Stands of IWTV, we have a very special guest in the audience tonight. Please follow my finger to the French Bengali smoke show. Can we get a torch? The Maître of Paris. Look deep into his uwu Japanime eyes as he mind cocks you up a cliff. The shapeshifter, the sophistica, the vampire, Armand!
In there.
That's an
so
appropriate
it is less awkward.
Yeah.
The Gremlin himself. Welcome. It's been a while. We've done some Daniel Malloy and some Nicolas Delenfant in the meantime.
Yeah.
While working also in the real world. I did explain to our viewers and subscribers and channel members that the real world interfered with watching fantasy shows and making neuroscience content. How dare the world interrupt?
Yeah, life got busy and very real.
How dare it? But we're back with the stipulated correction for the real Rashid.
With the real Rashid,
Sophie's mom.
Yeah.
Rian reminded me that it is only the real Rashid.
Once the penis is intact. At
and
the moment,
attached.
the penis is in the shelf.
So technically, it's
still Sophie's mom.
We shall make sure that for our next video,
the real Rashid will be attending.
Absolutely. I don't know if we can say penis on YouTube. So this might or might not be bleeped. We're going to see how it goes. I got away with saying potentially problematic things in the last video. So
well, it is what it is, and I think as far as the real Rashid, it has to be all real or it's not. Yeah, still the fake Rashid.
Which is the fake Rashid, which leads us beautifully into today's topic.
Yeah, to Armand.
Thank you very much for the request to do this one. This came straight from a subscriber.
Oh, wow.
The request to do an analysis of Armand. Now, my caveat on Armand, we don't have his full show depiction yet. He is developing still. Yeah. So this is the first of the Armands, always open to tweaking and revision, as most of science should be, so that we don't get stuck. But this is where we start. Second caveat, because I've read the books, my Armand picture is a little bit distorted, so I'm relying a little bit more on you for this one, for the reaction to the observable behaviors and characteristics. I have countertransference to this character, so I can't speak 100% objectively.
Yeah, so Armand remains a sort of work in progress, which is just, I think, the foundational strength of any scientific approach to this is what I can comment on with what I've observed and been able to reference, and with any new information, then of course you shift your differential, you shift your threshold of revelation further and further along.
100%.
Touching on the threshold of revelation, I just think it's appropriate to disclose about an anterior cingulate. I know the anterior cingulate is the brain type that has been associated with Lestat. throughout,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a very good depiction. But if you really wanted to see an anterior cingulate in action, you should have seen the Honorable Dr. Adendorf on the left over here, expressing her dismay at the lyrics of Black Licorice.
Because it's a tautology, because licorice is black. The red one isn't licorice, it's strawberry. Licorice, by definition, is black.
I rest my case.
Well, maybe salamander persisted.
Just saying,
Mm-hmm.
that's how that looks. Yeah, it's a very uncompromising space to move in. But I think kick us off with Armand and do where shall we unpack said?
Yes, let us just start. We are neuroscientific before anything else, so we are not labeling with pathology. Now there have been conversations around neurodevelopmental disorders and personality disorders with this character.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's an indigo pepper that we can't see off outside of the camera. He's doing the Montessori method for attention, so if my arm is doing things, it's because I've got a gremlin sitting over here. We are not here to diagnose or label, and we are very mindful of labeling with a disorder that is pervasive and persistent, such as a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Those are useful for ICD 10 and 11 purposes for billing. We are looking at observable patterns that play out over time, whether that is persistent and pervasive. We're not diagnosing the characters, for they are fictional. Neither are we diagnosing the actors. Even though there is something to be said for pervasive and persistent characteristics and habits and previously diagnosed neurodevelopmental
If you've watched
conditions.
some of their in-person interviews and their characters, there's something to be said for
sneaky
overlap,
neuroscience
overlaps
for
there.
real,
So
but we are still not diagnosing.
yeah, of course.
And nothing in this video serves to stand in place of actual mental health and brain health support provided by a clinician in person, or at least in a telehealth space.
Yeah.
This is information, this is infotainment, this is not therapy or counseling.
Yeah.
Resources will be linked below, as always. If anything comes up that is triggering, or you feel you need to figure out brain types, the Amends Brain Behavior System quiz is linked below. You can take it straight to your clinician, to your therapist, to anybody that you want that can help you figure out where you're at. We will also share resources on potential pervasive patterns. Hello, our own Gremlin. He just wants to play along. Such as the DMM, the Dynamic Maturation Model, with specific emphasis on attachment by Patricia Crittenden, the work by Richard Gremlin on narcissism, and Mark Vicente when we look at the dark tetrad presentation of behavior patterns. As usual, I'm including the link for the BWRT International Network of therapists who provide this service. We touched on it a little bit regarding trauma in our last video. If I have missed anything, please don't hesitate to contact us. We have a chat function available on our website, so if there's a specific question, you can reach us there, or feel free to comment on our YouTube. We, for the moment, still get back to you.
Well, unless you're in Russia.
Unless you're in Russia.
Because banned. Sorry.
Yes.
It is what it is, yeah.
It does seem to be that is what it is. All right.
So
Mr. Joy.
So Armand. So the exposure to Armand in the series, of course he enters the story in dribs and drabs.
Fake Rashid.
Yeah, fake Rashid, and and then he's featured in retrospect.
Yes.
So just on that one note, is what you then get from Armand is somebody else's experience of Armand, which means it's already a second-hand observation or a second-hand interpretation of whatever happened. That being said, he is
what does mean for people who don't know you?
It's when I want to swear undertone to go, what you see is so limited to the actual
depth and breadth of what goes on.
The amplified impact of what his character actually does. So yeah, I think to start off with his basic brain type, what did you get him at?
So I noticed a very definite anterior cingulate. I don't want to call it dysregulation, but I do want to say drive. It's not that it goes off into hyper error detection mode. It doesn't get extreme, but it is persistent and consistent. And it's almost as if this is the path I've set 52 years ago. This is the path on which I will remain. Even when I am thrown against a wall and my goal has been crushed, I maintain my direction. I will adjust where I have to, but my end goal, I'm going to reach it. And that kind of persistence and resilience we see in real life in people like David Goggins, but in this case, very much so the anterior cingulate's capacity to endure and to persist through it's not abuse, but through trauma. I think what happens with Louis in the altercation at the end of the second season, where everything is revealed, it's traumatic, and it creates a character which in the third season goes on a mission again with I've been enduring these difficult conversations with myself, and here's my amends, but you are gonna make them too. All the amends. And then coupled with an hyperfrontal expression, which is contrary to Lestat.
That's okay. That's sort of where I wanted to get into as well. In the parts where you see Armand breaking the rules to accommodate Louis and the daughter, again, the name Claudia. That level of that's not appropriate for an anterior cingulate pure and straight. So that sort of opens a little bit of a can of worms, because he's now actually combating his own prioritizing scaffolding in his brain with the future. Okay, now that's frontal.
Absolutely.
So therein comes the idea of the impulsivity of changing the rule, especially when he started the relationship with Louis. But there's some sinister little undertone in it, because he knew all along and he allowed it to play out. And
allowed it to play out, or orchestrated it to play out?
Here's the line. Because so from the idea of allowing it to play out, it's sort of a more Machiavellian, manipulative kind of idea of allowing the devil to hang themselves with their own tail. Louis and Claudine playing out their little show, ironically, while everybody's it's exactly that. But so here's where the concept of the psychodrama dimensions on it. So shout out to absolutely the unbelievable work by people like Clarke Baim and Kate, who I've had the pleasure of sharing some educational space and psychodrama with. And then the concept of Armand being a megalomaniac, which is on a completely different level than somebody who's narcissistic or just ego-driven. A megalomaniac literally wants to construct the world and all the constellations in it, and what everyone does to everyone else while everything else is happening. It is a much more global and penetrative and integrative concept to really see megalomania in action.
Can I just pop in there? This is not a pathological diagnosis. This is not a personality disorder. This is a constellation of personality traits that plays out in accordance with brain systems, both on a microcosmic scale and a little bit bigger, because we see him potentially writing plays, then we see him directing. He might have been part of the production. He might be part of the stage crew at some point. And as someone who directs and produces and guides and gives input on the stage, it seems as if he's doing the same thing in real life.
Life, that's exactly that. Is how the stage plays out, his whim and compulsivity, and then also how it plays out in real life. The impulsivity of changing the rules, of bending the rules of where he was supposed to act against Louis. And well, they climbed out of the sewer, and it was like, okay, and then so that kind of understanding, it's not a pathological trait, but it is an observation of a completely different scale of thinking, and that's where I think the hyperfrontality absolutely, in contrast to Lestat, plays in on a bigger scale,
and it comes out in the compulsion.
Yeah.
So where Lestat feels the big emotion, has an impulse, and then is driven to physically see it through himself.
Yeah.
Armand has the space between the impulse and its enactment, during which time he has the executive function acuity to see who is the best person to do this thing in such a way that I get what I want and my world still exists. He is not the one who will have a lover spat and drop the lover from the roof. He is the one who goes and finds a lookalike for Claudia, spends as much time as he needs to have a longer term impact on getting an amends for the lover's spat that got him chucked into a wall. It is the long game, where Lestat seems to be a little bit more close the loop in the moment. And that's also why I'm thinking Armand does not have anterior cingulate dysregulation. His loop can stay open. He has the bandwidth to entertain more than the immediate need to close the loop. He also has a bigger understanding of the context outside of himself, which leads me to call it a driver rather than a dysregulator.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. The coldness in argument and things like that, whether it's in the interviews with Daniel Malloy or even the arguments with Louis, he does not lose his cool. He does not lose his composure to the point of dysregulation, where the impulsivity versus compulsivity then plays out.
And let's look at the long game of him putting those Fred Stein photographs in Louis' portfolio, knowing that at some point this interview is going to happen.
It's going to come back.
At some point, these photographs are going to be shown, and he's going to be gaslighting Louis, having wiped the memory from the previous interview situation with Louis already. You made an interesting point in our prep for this video. Daniel Malloy asks, are you schizophrenic, Louis? And Louis has a moment of, is it schizophrenia if it applies to vampires? And some enterprising therapists can dig into this in future, which we're doing. But it's not schizophrenia if it's induced. If it's an induced state of psychosis, if it's an induced split with reality, which it is here because it messes with the hippocampus, which, if you remember from our last video, touches onto the temporal lobe, which is where that dissociation and psychosis happens. He's induced a psychotic state in two people, two puppets.
That's not schizophrenic.
Not at all. But what it is playing a very long game. With insight and foresight.
That's a gaslighting presentation almost of undermining the reality perception of each individual, not only according to themselves, but according to their own experiences. And then challenging that, but by almost infiltrating it and recomposing those structures of memory, of experience. That's not schizophrenic. That is a...
Now, is that not sadistic? Is that not antisocial? Is that not some form of dangerous cluster B personality that we should be mindful of in this character?
I think it's more yes, so it's definitely part of the dark tetrad in there, because there's where the manipulation of each person's individual rights and autonomy and experiences are. And what that then by extension does is it invalidates whatever they respond.
Because the response is manufactured by virtue of the psychosis.
And it also messes with people, because now you're in a game playing a strategy that is sort of not in accordance or not in congruence with your own, I almost want to say, temperamental makeup or your own experience.
It's the Truman Show.
Legitimately so. So when it's scripted like that, that's where that whole megalomania thing came up. It's like,
but is this someone who is dangerous? Is this someone to whom we should assign a label that we associate with abuse, whether emotional or physical? Is this someone that you should be wary of? Or is this someone who's developed mental trauma and interrelational trauma and DMN makeup may have caused this megalomania to exist as a survival strategy in his world?
Let's assume that all personalities develop as a measure of survival strategy for the organism. This one then exactly the same. But there is this thing about immortality then.
Yes.
It's like survival mechanisms from a biological driver makes complete sense because of its finite time frame. Whether it's dominance in a group where sons overtake fathers because the fathers will demise, and then the sons sort of carry on the baton, if you will.
Yeah, and for the bloodline.
Yeah, for the bloodline. Well, here the bloodlines don't stop.
Yeah.
So there is a fundamental juxtaposition on these principles, because now the fathers do not allow the sons to conquer them. From a Jungian point of view, you sort of build your empire on the ruins of your fathers, just to sort of like standing on the shoulders of giants kind of idea.
Absolutely.
To keep that continuity and generational drive. But in this case, the timelines are infinite, which means that the whole parent-child dynamic is completely out of the window as far as biological drivers go.
Well,
because
look at Lestat and his mother.
Well, there are a few examples of that sort of closed loop pseudo incest. Well, pseudo. I'm saying pseudo incestual, but just because it's not quite the way. But because the mother made Lestat, but then Lestat made the mother, so that's how come it gets a little bit tricky.
But here, what's interesting, if I can just say, in the books, Armand notes that eventually the fledgling can no longer stand to be with the maker, nor can the maker stand to be with the fledgling. The exact words escape me, but it's something along the lines of, I want the companionship from the immortals, but I need the love of the humans. It's once I turn the human, it's not love anymore, it's something else. And therein is a bit of a conundrum, yes. Having now seen...
Who says this?
Armand,
huh?
But Book Armand.
Yeah.
So Book Armand is... So there's obviously poverty. He is in a religious family and community. He paints icons, and he is... I don't want to say saved by Marius, because Marius also ends up abusing him, but he's given better circumstances for survival by the vampire Marius. But Marius does not necessarily see in Armand what he has seen in Lestat. For example, Marius does not tell Armand about those who must be kept and how they are to be kept. He doesn't pass on the big mysteries and magic.
Yeah, the lore or the culture of it.
For real, which you would expect somebody who is going to pass on immortality to you to do. Now, Marius does not intend to pass on immortality to Armand. Armand gets ill with the sweating sickness, some form of sickness. He gets sick. He's going to die if he's not turned. So he is then turned to save his life because Marius wants his love / companionship. Armand then realizes long term that it is not the love companionship. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, because relationships, I think that's the last penny in the can that I can contribute to that. Relationships from an evolutionary point of view is a survival strategy. just by,
Yeah, we do not exist in isolation.
Yeah, and it's also that idea that if I want to go fast, I'll go alone. But if I want to go far, we go together. There really is. So relationships always form a foundation of a survival strategy. Okay, so how does this now count for the immortals? And if I don't need you as a survival strategy, you're not in competition with me for a food source.
There is a survival strategy. Sorry to interrupt.
Go for it.
Armand, being as ancient as he is, needs someone who is more savvy with modern technology.
Oh, with the tech.
In the box, in the show, he can work that tablet and probably play any Candy Crush saga that he wants to. But in the books, he needs somebody to help him figure out modernity.
Okay.
So there might be something to that with his relationship with Daniel.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that, but from a survivable point versus a comfort or an ability to adapt or the ability to integrate with technology.
Yeah.
I don't know what immortality does to that entire identity formation in a relationship of, if we want to go far, we go together, but I'm immortal, so I don't know how that plays out. But for Armand's sake, he definitely was incredibly calculated on how he set up stages for himself.
Absolutely.
To benefit from the context that plays out when Louis and Claudia joined the coven in Paris.
And setting up the coven's demise by allowing Santiago's narcissism to play out. That's another character analysis that's on the list.
Yeah.
And there we can see the personality disorder with all of the DSM criteria playing out against Armand's personality type, which isn't in the DSM per se.
Yeah.
So that is a
very, very clear, because there was that whole little screw you things with Santiago all the time. It's like, you crossed me like this, I'll cross you like that. You crossed me like this, I'll cross you like that. And it's not petty. It's very, very deliberate, because it is in the witness of everybody else.
Yes.
Yes. True. I want to say there are grades on how the triad, the dark triad of personality traits play out, and the ones that are played out in theater, and the ones that are concealed, they truly hold different malice. They truly do. So Santiago there is a much more clear cut, as ruthless as he is. It's a bit more clear cut, whereas Armand's a lot more subtle. Not so quiet, not so aggressive, not so in your face. Even in the corner, mute on the trial, in the corner, not being able to express his influence and things like that. Whereas then it required Lestat to intervene more. So that's very different.
Acknowledging when he's making his amends first to who does he start with? To Daniel, then with Lestat, where he acknowledges that moment and he says, "I've been living
to take the credit.
Yeah, I've lived the last years on a carpet of eggshells because I know that you know, and you know that I know.
Yeah.
And that Louis doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for you, and I realize now that it wasn't torture or malicious from you not saying anything. And there's a moment of consideration for, really? But following through on every single amends to then say, I'm done, your turn. That brings us back to the anterior singular. Tag, you're it.
Yeah.
And if you won't do it, well, what can I torture so that your decapitated self will just write down with the pen?
I will
write the amends.
I will make you
close the loop.
Make you close the loop. Yeah. So there, for example, that could be an example of a dysregulated anterior, because there he completely lost any adaptive capacity to either integrate or adapt on a different outcome. He just had to push through. And I do admit, cutting somebody's head off so that he can't run away, so that he could do what you want him to do. I think that's the point. I think that's a fair estimation of we have a problem here, and maybe some other
I understand.
Some other well-meaning therapist can one day look into that. But how different is that expression of Armand's behavior compared to the Paris Covenant and then in Dubai with Louis, where he was a lot more calculated, a lot more structured. I think the most devious thing he did there was, to fake being Rashid. To fake being Rashid. The photo was still played from the Paris relationship in Coven, where he put the photos in, but he knew they were there all along.
But then against whom? Because fake Rashid is against Daniel, is protecting him maybe against Daniel's perception, whereas the photographs are a very deliberate act against Louis. So I also have to question in relation to whom this occurs. The mortal from whom he wants more than just companionship, or the immortal with whom he already has the companionship, but where there are other complications. And this is where the DMM comes in. Because there is a bit of a push-pull, there is a little bit of a punishment, and then a little bit of a seduction. There is a little bit lower A and lower C quadrants playing in here. We will put up the diagram to explain what that means.
The one being a lot more cognitively structured, with zero empathy or emotional consideration, but then that other part of understanding that this will hurt Louis, and then by extension either bring Louis closer to him, so it's sort of like a seduction component, or make Louis brutally angry and combative against Daniel. Which, it's a bit party.
Well, that's already happened. He just, erased it, but we've already been there, so he knows the outcome.
I think so too.
So he's reset the stage. He gets another go. He's made some tweaks to the script and he gets to have another go, which closes the loop for him, which comes back to that anterior cingulate cortex, but not necessarily personality.
It's not dysregulated. I mean, it's shrewd and morally quite a mess if that's a compass that you want to apply to what's playing out, but certainly not dysregulated. That is calculated, and the chronological steps on it, despite its complexity, plays out. Do you think that the timeline makes the game more insidious or more abrupt, or more, I almost want to say, more intense, considering that Paris to Dubai, that's what, 80 years? Since the war.
80 and a bit.
80 and a bit. Okay, an entire lifetime.
A human lifetime.
A human lifetime, I don't know. What do you think? Would the timeline make things?
This is going to sound horribly cliche, and I am not the one who jumps to attachment, but it's going to depend on the transformational trauma. It's going to depend on the values that you were given by your maker. It is going to depend on the vision and the mission that you were given when you're made, that then has to either integrate with your human personality structures or not.
That was already existing.
So that's what we see in Daniel when he takes in Armand's blood the mind wipe of Louis' language about push through, be a journalist, succeed, all of that. That falls away, and he becomes quite hypofrontal and becomes quite vicious. I think there's something to how you're made, by whom.
The transformational trauma.
And if there is transformational trauma.
No offense, I think every single vampire that found himself going from mortal to vampire, there was something traumatic about it, whether it
but
was...
then is it integrated or not? I think, so Gabriella is not transformationally traumatized because she's on the verge of death. It is given to her as something that gives her everything she could never have had in her life.
Also...
Sans consumption.
Also Claudia?
So there's... no.
She was the most burnt. And then Let's Start Better. Isn't that? Movie. Series.
Movie? Yeah. Book Claudia...
Not so much.
She's 6. So you're making a broken thing there. So movie Claudia, I'm sorry, series Claudia.
Sorry.
Within reason, yes. But book Claudia, yeah. But my example remains Gabriella because she was given the dark gift and it actually is gift.
Yeah.
So there, she could be her best self. And she's awful, but she's true to herself and she's not acting out against anyone because of them. She's just living. With Armand, he is acting out against people specifically. He's acting out against Lestat. He's acting out against Louis. And even though he's making amends and he's had the conversations with himself, he convinces Larry to jump in front of a bus. He plays around with Alex, the other guitarist's mind.
Yeah.
And even though he himself doesn't understand what the love is between vampires and the maker fledgling bond, because he's never made one before.
Yeah.
I can't answer your question entirely because we don't have enough series Armand context with Marius.
Yeah.
I need to see him as a fledgling here because I'm a little bit colored by
biased by the book. Yeah. Well, I do think that it remains an avenue that's sort of contributory to what we see in the series, which obviously I think it makes sense from a production and chronological build. But yeah, so Armand, the old Gremlin, there definitely is something that is very unique to the way his brain type and behavior plays out. That is very different, even though there's the anterior cingulate similarities that he shares with Lestat, completely driven by different goals and different priorities. There's also, the way I understood it, that because he takes them to the gallery and then they show the boy in the painting, which is Armand, and also that transformational trauma and transformational age. Armand was
young,
what do they call? Changed, converted, reverted, muted, made at a significantly younger age and in a state of complete dependence
and illness,
massive deprivation.
Yeah.
So the hypercriticalness, the hypersensitivity of his system towards his environment, and then that change
is 100% appropriate.
Absolutely, have to be considered.
Our neuroscientific theory is whatever brain state you were in when you're made stays.
Yeah.
So, 100%. That is why he is so aware of everything around him, and probably why the control need is such a strong driver.
I will believe you on that one as well. Like, I mean, that was, and I mean that rings true with existing theories of the default network and the very insightful Freudian neurodevelopmental stages of kids and stages of fixation and exploration and things like that. So that moment of change,
you'll stay in that brain.
You'll at least stay in that default framework.
But I think
and everything will be added on top, but under enough pressure and enough conflict, it will be reduced to that
I
baseline.
Actually think that default mode network becomes the salience network. The things that stand out the most become the survival orientated things if that is the moment at which your brain, the snapshot is taken.
Yeah.
My hypothetical.
No, it's definitely part of the...
Because he doesn't grow past it. He doesn't mature through it. His brain stays with the need to be in charge of everything.
So one would go, okay, so one would go, if he wasn't as in a deprived and anxious state at the time of his making, would Megalomania have been the personality that we see in him? Probably not. So in that regard, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But therein also lies the refinement of the coping strategies and the adaptive strategies, like literally like cutting somebody's head off so that he can't walk away while you want to talk to him.
But he has to make his amends.
I rest my case. You can see that, yes, it's effective in achieving the outcomes, and it makes for fantastic viewing. But there is a moment of sincere dysregulation in those points. That is not okay, from any clinical and therapeutic point of view. to puppet them. And that puppeting thing is actually part of that psychodrama understanding of how he just made the stage so that it would play out exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, or what he needed, to be fair.
Yeah. Wanted, needed, I
don't think he can differentiate.
I also don't know if you are immortal, if there is a difference. There's amusement, there's amusement. Like
but
Lestat.
Needs and wants are probably
so Lestat, you can say that the amusement there, he says, is like drinking blood, changing
sex.
Somebody think sex is like filth.
Yeah.
So even from a desire point of view, the lust driver is still secondary to the
hunger,
need, to the needs. So even he's Maslow'd in his immortal rock star.
But we know that Armand doesn't feed all that often. Licorice is licorice.
Yeah.
So there, even his Maslow is undermined. So then wants are needs because the needs don't matter so much anymore.
Yeah.
And that must be frightening to a brain that is stuck in a deprivation state, in a body with the rest of the body that now goes, I don't actually need anything. So now I have to play out once, because otherwise, what is the point of existence? And I think then it becomes quite existential.
No,
and that's probably why the old ones go into the fire. That's probably why they don't last.
If biology does not end the show, I will.
I have to.
So, like self-sabotage, or just like...
No, it's just done.
Just
the curtain closing. The show is done.
Yeah. Which is really funny because from a biological and psychological and neurological integrative point, we look at how many times the show must go on, counted by the telomeres, repetitions on your chromosomes and the alleles, but and also the mitochondrial rejuvenation, because you can have both to your benefit, or you can have the one that sort of compensates for the other. And in their regard, they're not a victim of either.
Which means they become a victim of their own mind eventually. Yeah, I think.
There is a kind of a sad irony in it, that what do people do when they live forever? Well, they just take longer to die.
Yeah.
They just take longer to die, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the frustrations with Armand, from a character point of view, and the little bit that I got to share with you on him, is even though his story isn't the focus, he really does draw both Louis and Lestat's relationship, and I mean, he's the fundamental undoing of Claudia and the Taylor lady.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I liked her. I think she was just like it was a legitimate expression of
that would have closed Claudia's loop beautifully forever and ever, and hers as well, because that would have been the catharsis for both of them to overcome their trauma.
Yeah, because the Madeleines with the Nazi symbol on the window, because of her transgressions according to her social group, she would have been able to be removed and in a closed cycle of acceptance.
Yes, 100% pure acceptance. She says pure. She says when they confront her,
not yet.
Join the coven, she says Claudia is my coven.
Yeah, and she said, "Are you sleeping together? What are you loving?" And she went, not yet. And I like that.
Very much so.
That was the sweetest moment of humanity.
Yes.
By completely immortal non-humans. That I really could appreciate.
And I think that's a good note to bring us to a close. Not all of the neuroscience that we see in the show is bad neuroscience.
Yeah.
Not everything here is trauma. Not everything here is disaster and painful. It's just that the disasters make incredibly compelling viewing.
Yeah.
But not everything that we see is pathological or problematic.
I also think they load the characters with these crises.
That's how they were written.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also that's what made it a lot more observable.
Yes.
So in their behavior and then the relationships playing out.
So that is our first effort at Armand. As season 4 comes out and we learn how he loses his eye.
Yeah.
And why he doesn't replace it with the human eye, like Maharet and Makare figure out early on in the books. So More to come in Armand.
Yeah, so Armand definitely has a follow-up.
Sequel.
But he is by far the coolest non rock star
Yes.
character in the series so far.
Absolutely.
Sharing the same fundamental brain type as Lestat, but with a hyperfrontal
Yes.
prioritizing.
Absolutely.
Just aligns his story so much more in a straight line than Lestat's roller coaster type.
Absolutely.
Sometimes fiasco of a show.